It was the first day of Melody's new life in Atlanta. A day that would not only change geography, but also write a new page in her destiny. A small bag in her hand, dreams in her eyes, and her children walking behind her, looking like characters from a story in their new school uniforms. The luggage locked in the back of the truck contained everything he had saved from his life's memories. Some wounds and some hopes. No more court. No more accusations, just peace. But fate probably didn't like peace. As she sent the kids to their rooms and put her phone on charge, a notification came up. Lamb cast updates. Martell Holt seen in Huntsville discussing custody battle. Melody stared at the screen. She was silent for a few moments. Then she picked up her phone, placed it on the table, and muttered softly, "This should end now." Martell's story did not end there. For him, Melody's departure was not a defeat but a challenge. His ego could not accept the fact that Melody had started a life without him. That too in a big city where he began to feel like part of the past. "She thinks she'll be free by going to Atlanta," he said to his friend. "I'll see how long she lasts there." But the truth was that Martell's inner emptiness was speaking louder than his words. The man who had once been a symbol of strength and pride was now a lonely figure in the media spectacle. Meanwhile, Melody began to channel her energy into a new cause in Atlanta. She joined a local business network where she met with female business leaders. There was a woman there, Sabrina, who had once been similarly broken by her husband but later became the owner of a successful brand. Sabrina told Melody, "You have that sparkle that people tried to take away, but you have to make it shine brighter." Melody smiled and replied, "I just want my life back." The days passed. The Atlanta studios, the new neighborhood, and the children's school activities kept Melody's life busy. But in the silence of the nights, the questions in her mind never ended. Sometimes she would remember the moments in court, sometimes the last day she had locked the door. But now there was a difference. She would look at her face in the mirror every morning and say, "I survived." When Martell saw Melody's new posts from Atlanta, pictures with children, glimpses of business seminars and stories of happy faces, the fire inside him was rekindled. He made a statement to the media, "It's all show off. The reality is something else." But the public had now stopped believing her words. Melody's popularity began to grow, and her followers began to see her as a resilient woman. Meanwhile, the OWN network has been debating again. Should Melody make a new show? Love and Legacy, Atlanta chapter. According to some producers, Melody's new life could be a fresh topic for viewers. But the announcement has angered Martell again. "If she comes back to TV, I'll come out with my truth," he said in an interview. Melody heard the statement, but this time she didn't stay silent. She wrote a long post on social media for the first time. Sometimes silence is respect. But when someone uses your pain as a means of publicity, it's necessary to speak up. "I just took my life back, not against anyone, but for myself." These words became like a spark. A wave of support spread across social media. A new hashtag called Team Melody started trending. Thousands of women shared her post writing, "She is our voice." That night, as Melody sat on her balcony drinking tea, she saw the lights moving on the streets below. There was a chill in the air but a strange warmth in her heart. She looked up at the sky and said to herself, "Maybe this city is really made for new beginnings." But fate likes to twist a tale before it's finished. The next morning, an email arrived. Notice of custody review hearing filed by Martell Holt. Melody's hands shook. Her words dried up. She sat back in her chair and uttered only one sentence. "Again?" It was the beginning of a new legal battle in Atlanta. But this time the field was wider, and the audience was more powerful. The email on her desk kept appearing before her eyes over and over again. Custody review hearing filed by Martell Holt. As if each letter was hammering at the walls of her piece, she got up from her chair, walked to the window, and listened to the sounds of laughter coming from the children's rooms. She knew that this war was not just hers. but also those innocent faces whose futures were about to be decided by people sitting in a courtroom. Melody took a deep breath and called her lawyer, Angela Mason. Angela was a strong, experienced lawyer who had won many divorce and custody cases. As she picked up the phone, she said, "Melody, I knew it would happen again. Martell wasn't going to stay quiet." Melody replied weakly, "I just wanted peace." "Why didn't he leave me to live in peace?" Angela said, "Because some people want control more than peace. You're not just an ex-wife to him, you're the defeat of his pride." The court date was set April 25th, Atlanta County Court. The news quickly spread in the media. A debate broke out on blogs, YouTube channels, and social media. Some spoke out in favor of Melody, others in defense of Martell. Dozens of posts appeared in LAMH fan groups. One comment read, "Martell should understand that Melody has moved on with her life." While another replied, "But when it comes to the children, both should be heard." These arguments weren't just on screen. They were also echoing in both of their hearts. Melody sat down with her legal team and prepared every piece of evidence possible. The children's school records, their daily well-being, and all the financial details that could prove she was a stable mother. On the other hand, Martell tried to give the impression through the media that he was fighting for fathers' rights. He said in an interview, "I just want love for my children. But some people always want the spotlight in front instead of retreating." The statement went viral across the internet, but most of the reactions were unsympathetic. People knew that Martell's past was not transparent. Details of her anger, infidelity, and previous fights were already in the public domain. But still, the media made the battle a new buzzword under the headline, "Love and Custody: Melody versus Martell." Meanwhile, the atmosphere in Melody's house was serious. That night, after everyone had gone to bed, she sat in her bedroom and began writing in her diary. She wrote, "When I left, I thought it was the last wound. But now it seems like wounds open up again before they heal. Maybe that's the price of being strong, constant testing." The next day, Angela Mason came to her house. The two had a detailed meeting. Angela said, "We need your inner strength in the courtroom. He will provoke you, the media questions will sting you, but you must remain silent. Because sometimes silence itself becomes evidence." Melody nodded. Meanwhile, Martell also assembled his own team. With him was a young lawyer, David Crane, who was known for his aggressive style. "We're going to win this case with wisdom, not emotion," David said. "You just present yourself as an ideal father. The media will do the rest." Martell looked at himself in the mirror, the same pride on his face, but exhaustion in his eyes. Court day arrived. Dozens of cameras lined the streets outside the Atlanta County Courthouse. Reporters, microphones, flashlights, screaming questions. "Melody, do you think Martell is a good father? Martell, is this an act of revenge?" Melody remained silent, only holding the children's hands with a smile and moving forward. Martell also stepped towards the court without answering. But the arrogance on his face was clear. The atmosphere inside the court was heavy. Judge Evelyn Turner opened the file and allowed both lawyers to speak in turn. Angela, speaking in Melody's favor, said, "This case is not about revenge, but about stability. My client has created a better environment for her children in Atlanta. They are financially, emotionally, and morally stable." David Crane immediately turned around and said, "My lord, but we must not forget that children need both parents. Martell Holt has always fulfilled his responsibility. We only want them to be given equal time." The judge listened to both of them in silence, then closed the file and said, "This court will decide based on evidence, not emotions." The trial was adjourned. But the media outside took the story out of both of their faces. Over the next few days, social media became a double-edged sword for Melody. People spoke in her favor and also accused her. Some said she was using everything for fame. Some called it a sign of courage. But Melody did not comment. She used her silence as a shield. One night, she was sitting with her friend Sabrina. Sabrina said, "Have you thought about what would happen if the court ruled against you?" Melody closed her eyes and said, "I still won't lose." Because victory is not always a matter of decision, but of intention. On the other hand, Martell felt that people were now seeing him as a villain. He began to feel distanced from his fans. He told his mother, "Mom, I only want my children. Everyone else is misunderstood." His mother said gently, "Son, maybe you've lost yourself in the pursuit of having them." The words pierced his heart like an arrow. That night, he texted Melody for the first time. "I didn't mean to hurt you. I just wanted the kids to be close to me." Melody saw the message but didn't respond. Time passed. At the next hearing, the judge offered the two mediation a chance to sit down and make a decision for the best interests of the children. Angela convinced Melody that this might be a better way. Melody said yes. On the day of the mediation, the two sat at a table. The air was silent. Melody looked into Martell's eyes. The anger had been replaced by emptiness. The anger had been replaced by emptiness. "I just want the children to be at peace," she said. "If you love them, don't ruin their world." Martell bowed his head. "I just want to be a father, not an enemy." It was the first time the two had spoken to each other without shouting. The mediation resulted in a decision that both would have a role in raising the children, but that the primary residence would remain in Atlanta. The media headlined the news as peace after storm, but the truth was that Melody still had a wound. In her heart, a wound that might never fully heal. That night, as she stood on the balcony, a light drizzle was in the air. She looked up at the sky and said, "I have won my battle, no matter what the court decides, because I am now free from fear." Months had passed since the court mediation. Circumstances had changed, but one thing remained the same: Melody's determination. She had created a new life for her children, a new routine. A new peace. School, dropouts in the morning, business meetings in the afternoon. Time at home with the children in the evening, but this time, instead of exhaustion, there was contentment in her eyes. Meanwhile, her business, MEL Enterprises, launched a new fashion and brand event in Atlanta. Local media dubbed her the comeback queen. For Melody, the event was not just a success, but a message that a woman doesn't just endure. She can be reborn. On the day of the launch event, the hall was packed. Lights, cameras, and flashes. Melody came on stage and grabbed the mic. "I lost a lot in my life. Respect, confidence, even self-belief. But one thing never left me, and that was my purpose. I want every woman to know that no matter what she goes through, she can get back up. Because strength always comes from within, not from without." Applause erupted. The eyes of the women in the room sparkled as they had all found their inner courage again. The media headlined the next day, "MelodyShari from heartbreak to power, the woman who rebolted her umpire." Martell, on the other hand, had different days. He was more quiet now. His social gatherings were fewer. Sometimes he would talk to his children on video calls, listening to their laughter. But behind every smile, there was a sense of guilt. He knew that he had not only lost the battle, he had fought, he had also wounded the innocence of his children. One day, Melody received a message from Martell on her phone. "I wanted to congratulate you. What you have done is your right. Perhaps now you understand that respect is not gained by taking, but by giving." Melody replied briefly, "Thank you. I pray for you that you too will find your own world of peace." This message closed a new chapter between the two. No anger, no war, just a silent apology. That night, Melody went into her daughter's room. The little girl was writing something in her diary. Melody asked, "What are you writing, son?" The girl smiled and said, "I'm writing my dreams. When I grow up, I'll be brave like you." Hearing this brought tears to Melody's eyes, but her heart smiled. She knew. Now, this generation was free from chains. This would be the girl who would never live in fear of anyone. The next day, Melody took a new step. She launched a women's empowerment program called the Rebuild Project, which aimed at supporting women who wanted to rebuild their identity after divorce, violence, or failure. The project offered workshops, business coaching, And legal support. Her initiative made a national impact. She was interviewed by CNN and Essence magazine. One article was titled, "She Turned Pain into Purpose. MelodyShari's Atlanta Revolution." For Melody, it was all like a dream. But she knew it was all the result of her patience, her faith, and her belief. But life always has a new test. One day, his team announced that Martell was returning to a reality show called Father Reclaimed. Show's goal was to show fathers trying to reconnect with their families. People immediately started asking questions. Will Melody appear on the show? Will there be another clash between the two? Melody shut down all the media questions with one sentence: "I don't repeat my past anymore. I just write my future." Her statement went viral on every news channel. People said, "This is real power." The answer to not answering? Now Melody was no longer just a reality star. She had become a movement. Her story began to be told in schools, universities, and women's forums. People were inspired by her and began to make changes in their lives. One evening, as she stood in her yard, the colors of the sunset scattered across the sky. She watched her children play and said to herself, "This is my real victory. Not fame, not money, just this peace, this light, this feeling that I didn't let myself lose." Fame changes, but truth always remains. Who do you think is to blame? Martell, Melody, or Ariane? Be sure to leave your opinion in the comments, because your voice is the real power of the reality show. And if you want us to write the next chapter, Love and Legacy, Atlanta chapter, then be sure to like the video and subscribe.